Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel today, and I'll be bringing you guys an 8.2 Survival Hunter PvP guide. It's been a long time coming, and I've finally gotten all the essences I want, gotten everything I want to test it out, so I can give all the information to you today. I'll be going over races, talents, PvP talents, traits, essences, stats, any gear or trinkets you should be looking out for, pets, how you want to be doing your DPS rotation, and the best comps, and any helpful macros I have. So first, we'll go over the races. So, our best races will go by each faction. For Alliance, your best 3 races are going to be Human, Night Elf, and Dark Iron Dwarf, and I'll be going over a single reason why. So we'll cover Human first, since that's the race I am currently. So the major strength of Human is this racial right here, Every Man for Himself. 3-minute cooldown, removes all stun effects. This effect shares a 90-second cooldown with other similar effects, which is pretty much your PvP trinket. But the benefit of the Every Man for Yourself is that you no longer have to take Gladiator's Medallion. You can just take Relentless every single game. There are very niche situations where Medallion's better, but 99% of the time, Relentless is always going to be the most optimal choice. You'll never want to take Adaptation ever as Human, because Adaptation nullifies Every Man for Himself, because the 1-minute cooldown Adaptation has will never let you trigger this, because this will put this on a 90-second CD. So next we go over Night Elf, and Night Elf's a really strong race because it has Shadow Meld, 2-minute cooldown. You essentially have a chance, if you time it right, to dodge an ability. So say you have a coil coming your way from a Destro Warlock, and you see the coil in the air and you hit Meld, it will immune the coil, and it's just a good way to avoid CC, avoid damage, anything like that. And then our third race is Dark Iron Dwarf. Dark Iron Dwarf, or even regular Dwarf to some extent, is good because they both have the racial Stone Form or Fire Blood. Stone Form removes all magic and bleed, curse, disease effects, and gives you a 10% damage reduction for 10 seconds, while Dark Iron Dwarf gives you 600 main stat, and then for every single debuff removed gives you an additional 200 main stat up to 10 debuff slots. So Dwarf is your more defensive pick. It gives you damage reduction, a little bit more versatile with that, as to where the Dark Iron Dwarf is more of an offensive pick, gives you more damage, and I personally think that more damage is more worth it. Notable runner-ups, honorable mentions are Gnome for Escape Artist, 1-minute cooldown, just break any roots or snares, and then Draenei for the Gift of the Naru, but it's not that strong right now, so I would stick to either Human, Night Elf, or Dark Iron Dwarf. And for our Horde races, as usual, we only have the one option, which is the Orc, because it has Hardiness, which is a 20% stun reduction, just too strong. No other racial on a Horde even comes close to competing with it. It's truly sad. I wish there was other races you could play, but if you're playing Horde and you're not Orc, you're kind of wasting your time. Especially with the Blood Elf Silence being gone, there's no real point. So, we have that out of the way. We were going to go over talents now. I'll go over each row, give you an explanation of each talent and why you pick it. So we'll look at the first row, level 15 row. We have the options of Viper's Venom, Terms of Engagement, and Alpha Predator. So, right off the bat, we can cut out Terms of Engagement. It doesn't do any damage, just 6k, minimal hit. And the focus regen, you don't really care about the focus regen. So, not really useful, and the Harpoon reset does not matter. So we'll go over Viper's Venom and Alpha Predator. In this tier, I take Alpha Predator, which gives you 2 Kill Command charges, and Kill Command does 30% more damage. I like it, kind of smooths out the rotation more, gives you less focus issues, and just generally a little bit more damage. If you're looking for the most optimal burst build, Viper's Venom is the choice, because it makes your Serpent Sting have a chance to just cost no focus and deal 250% more initial damage. But it can sometimes you get really unlucky with procs, or sometimes you want to just mash Mongoose Bite and you'll get a proc in the middle of your Mongoose Bite spamming, and it kind of makes this talent worthless because you would rather just spam out Mongoose Bites than waste the global on the Viper's Venom in PvP. So I personally like Alpha Predator, but Viper Venom is a good choice. It's not bad. I just prefer Alpha Predator. So next we have Guerrilla Tactics, Hydra Spite or Butchery. Butchery right off the bat, kind of worthless. You don't hit Carve, you're not gonna hit Butchery. It's pretty much it doubles the damage of Carve, but you lose 2 really good talents. So the only competitions between Hydra Spite and Guerrilla Tactics, I take Guerrilla Tactics because it gives your bombs 2 charges, and it makes them do 100% more initial damage, which is really strong. They'll hit for like 15 to 20k, then put a 10k dot up. That's a 30k hit sometimes on there. It's really good. And it lets you stack up your bombs as well when you're playing Wildfire Infusion, so you can throw 2 bombs out at once. Hydrospite, it could have some niche situations if you're trying to rot down like a melee cleave. Say you're fighting a TSG and you're maybe playing Shadow Priest Hunter, Booby Hunter, and you're trying to, your goal is to kill both melee. This could work because your Serpent Stings are bound to always hit the DK, the Warrior, and the DK's pet, which lets you kill the pet maybe, even though it doesn't really matter. It just gives you the ability to cleave more, do more damage. But I personally will always take guerrilla tactics. I never find a situation where the damage from guerrilla tactics is ever outweighed by Hydrospite's cleave potential. So this next year, we have Trailblazer, Natural Mending, and Camouflage. Now, as opposed to my 8.0 guide where I point out Trailblazer is kind of worthless, there is a very, very niche situation in 2v2, and even sometimes in 3v3 this is good. This is good if your entire goal is to run out the healer, and you're not targeting anything else. Or you're just running at the healer, and it's like a Rusted Druid or a Mystery Monk. Healers that can move. You won't use this against a Disc Priest, you won't use this against a Holy Paladin, you won't use this against a Resto Shaman, because they can't really get away from you as easily. So this is pretty much if you're playing against like DHR Druid, and you're just totally a Druid. So when the Druid gets away from you and you're trying to catch up, you get the 30% sprint to get there faster. It doesn't break to your pet attacking, and it doesn't break to your dots. So the movement speed stays until you either kill command, Serpent Sting, or actually attack them. So in those situations it's good, but for the most part, for most 2s and most 3s games, you'll be picking between Natural Mending and Camouflage. Pretty much in 3s, if you're playing jungle or thug cleave, most of the time you want to take Camouflage, unless you're fighting a Demon Hunter and you have to be the one that stops the eyesight, then I just swap to Natural Mending. But if you're not jungle and you're not thug cleave, I pretty much usually go Natural Mending. Only times I go Natural Mending other than DHs in jungle is if I'm fighting like a really rock comp like Shadow Play, where I need to just help my healer as much as I can with most consistent healing. Then I'll go Natural Mending just to reset the cooldown of Exhilaration more. So next tier, or 6th tier, we have Bloodseeker, Steel Trap, and a Murder of Crows. Right off the bat, we're gonna take Steel Trap, worthless talent, doesn't do any damage. It does literally 16k damage. It's completely worthless 30-second cooldown. Not worth using at all, and it has the potential of missing since it is just a trap. You can actually have it can be eaten by someone else, which is really bad, and the root does break, so the root is worthless. So we have between Bloodseeker and a Murder of Crows. The only difference in these two talents is kind of playstyle. Bloodseeker is more consistent damage overall. Over time, it will add more and more damage. As for Crows, is a more bursty option, but in the current meta and overall just current feel of the game, Bloodseeker it feels better. It does more damage. The Crows doesn't add that much more burst. Like it does decent extra burst, but it's like you could get an extra Mung's Bite in instead, like an extra global of something more useful, like a Crucible of Flame or something like that. So I personally will always take Bloodseeker. The bleed's nice. The attack speed, it's kind of okay. Like you don't really notice it in PvP. So the attack speed doesn't matter. We're more just looking at the bleed component of it, which the bleed alone outweighs a Murder of Crows, so I would take it every single time. So in the next tier, we have Born to be Wild, Post Haste, and Binding Shot. Born to be Wild, I don't think it's really worth it. You rarely ever need the cooldown reduction on any of these abilities. If it flat reduced like Exhilaration as well, I would consider it. But since it doesn't affect Exhilaration, which is I think a more important cooldown, have it more often because it can help you just survive a goal alone. I don't think it's really that worth it. So our options are between Post Haste and Binding Shot. So I pretty much default always take Post Haste. The only times I take Binding Shot are when I'm fighting melee cleaves that have the potential to go my healer or Destro Warlocks. So say I'm fighting a TSG and playing jungle, and they're gonna go my Disc Priest. I can play Binding Shot. It's an 8-second root on both. The healer can only dispel one, and it also doesn't break on damage. So if we're going the melee, it breaks. So that's kind of like a nice thing. It's like a pseudo stun if the healer's not really trying to dispel it. But you don't use them to make it. And you use them to Destro Warlocks because they're very immobile class. So you can get them out, and one thing you can do is you can pair Binding Shot up with the Honor Talent High Explosive Trap, and you can say you're fighting a Resto Druid Destro Warlock, and the guy is playing Spring Blossoms, the Efflorescence heal, is you can knock him out and then Binding Shot him out of the Efflo so he can't get back in, so the Druid has to waste extra mana to get the Efflo black on his Destro Warlock, or he just loses the hot until he gets back in. So it's like 8 seconds of either baits more mana, or it reduces healing for 8 seconds, which is pretty good. So, on to our next tier, we have Tip of the Spear, Mongoose Bite, and Flanking Strike. Straight up, only option is Mongoose Bite. It hits, so if we look at it right here, it hits for about 15k, this hits for 16k, so baseline, mashing Raptor Strike is more damage. So if you're never, ever ramping up Mongoose Bites, Tip of the Spear is better. In any situation where you get 2 Mongoose Bites off in a row, Mongoose Bite's instantly better. So look, right there, we have it for 15k, we'll go to a target dummy real quick, we'll hit it. It's already hitting for 17k. It's already more damage, so it's more worth to play Monk's Bite. And then we'll just go quickly to our last tier: Birds of Prey, Wildfire Infusion, Chakrams. Wildfire Infusions, like I was saying before, Guerrilla Tactics lets you stack 2 bombs. You don't Birds of Prey isn't really that useful if you're getting kited on cooldowns. You can't really extend without Eagle, and Chakrams just doesn't really do any damage whatsoever. So next we'll go to PvP talents. We'll go over the trinket first. Pretty much in every situation, if you are a human, you're going to play Relentless, and then as every other race, you're going to play Gladiator's Medallion. You always need a form of trinket to get your cooldowns off, whether it be Trinket Exil, Trinket Turtle, maybe Trinket Kite. You always need a form of trinket for stuns. Since human has the everyman for himself, you're going to play human, and then for every other race, you're just going to play Gladiator's Medallion because you don't have the option to remove stuns. So, we'll go to our honor talents right here. As you can see, I'm baseline playing Roar Sacrifice, Mending Bandage, Trackers, and that I play these talents because they're good for world PvP overall. Like, they're not awful. Like Mending Bandage, if you get away, you can bandage, or if you trap someone in a duel, you can bandage. Roar Sacrifice is just a really good talent in general, and I take Trackers net to kind of root people away. But we'll go over into situations when you take different honor talents. So, one honor talent to mention first is Survival Tactics. It makes Feign Death remove all magical effects, and it reduces damage taken by 99% for 1.5 seconds. Very strong, can work into melee cleaves. You instantly cancel your feigns so people start doing actual damage into you. You can Feign Death, Frost Mage damage, say a Frost Mage, Flurry, Frostbolt Flurry shatters you with an Ice Lance. If you get the Feign Death off before any of those land, even if they're in the middle of the air, it will just reduce the damage all of them, so you can severely reduce Frost Mage damage. It doesn't work though on mid-air Chaos Bolts and Greater Pyros, so you do have to use those before. It's just a good talent. The damage reduction alone makes it really good. Like, even if it didn't have the remove all harmful magical effects, I would still use this in certain matchups because the 99% damage reduction is pretty good. Another option to look at is Spider Sting. I would use this into team like Fire Mages, Frost Mages, Death Warlock, Shadow Priest. Casters that you can shut down, high pressure casters. Like Fire Mages spamming G-Pies or spamming Sheeps. Death Warlock spamming Fears and Chaos Bolts just really shuts them down. Shadow Priest Purge spam. Just overall pretty good. Next talent we're gonna look at is Viper Sting. I pretty much only use this in 2s. It's very hard in 3s nowadays to try to warrant the spot for Viper Sting into Resto Druids because they're usually playing with other classes that I need to take honor talents into. But if you think you can get away with the honor talent slot, I would use this into every Resto Druid team you could. But I wouldn't risk losing the honor talent slot. There's just too many that are good. And then our last honor talent we're gonna look at for 3s only is High Explosive Trap. Like I said, you can you can pair with Binding Shot. It's really strong on Mugambala if you're playing up top. It's strong on Blade's Edge, just in general if you're playing up top. Dalaran's okay because half the map's a little elevated, so you can knock people down. Overall, it's pretty decent. Nothing too shame. And then I'm gonna go over when you don't take Roar Sacrifice. So you pretty much want to take Roar Sacrifice into every team other than Shadow Priest teams. You will not want to ever take it into Shadow Priest teams. So if you fight Shadow Priest, anything, doesn't matter what the other class is, unless it's a Fire Mage. Fire Mage is the only exception to this rule, that you always take Roar Sac. But Shadow Priest X, any other class, you will take Dragon Scale Armor instead. Just a nice damage reduction, and you don't take Roar Sac, so your pet stops dying so much to Shadow Priest dots. And now I'm just going to go over a quick little 2's talents, two 2's talents. So one talent you can take is Diamond Ice. Just if you're training a healer, you can just take Diamond Ice, guarantee a 5-second CC. Say it's a Demon Hunter, you just root Diamond Ice Trap. You just keep being peeled for 11 seconds every 30 seconds. Pretty much doesn't get to play the game that often. Another talent you can play is Hunting Pack. I use Hunting Pack into Windwalkers and into Death Knights because against Death Knights I usually have to run up to healers a lot. typically if I'm playing with the Holy Pal or any other healer, I have to rush down their healer. I have to kill him first. Hunting Pack's kind of nice, and if you pair Hunting Pack with a Freedom on your healer while he's getting trained, so say you're fighting HPL DK, you get Hodge just fixed, and your healer just needs to get away from him. You Freedom and Hunting Pack, an aspect of the cheetah, and your healer goes 90% faster, and he just zooms away from them, and then he gets to do anything. It's very strong with Residruid, because the Hunting Pack also stacks with their travel form, so they move like 130% faster, just a very strong, nice cooldown. But you don't use it too much. I use it in the DKs and Windwalkers and maybe Warriors, but for the most part, it's mainly on DKs and Windwalkers. So next, we're gonna go over the traits you want. So there's really only 3 traits you want. As you can see here, I'm running currently triple latent poison, a primeval intuition, a wilderness survival, and a dire consequences. Pretty much the most important thing is having the 3 latent poisons, then the wilderness, then the wilderness survival, then the primeval, and then the 6th trait doesn't really matter. You can go for anything. Pretty much the only ones you don't want to take are anything that can break traps. You don't want to take wildfire cluster or anything that just does any sort of AoE damage that has the potential to break CC. So you can go dire consequences, serrated jaws, venomous fang. You can go free for all traits like Undulating Tides, Tidal Surge, all decent options. Undulating Tides I'm kind of on the fence about, because once you hit that 50% mark, you'll lose the damage from Undulating Tides. So if you're getting trained, you kind of are only taking it for the shield, but it's still decent. Next, we're going to be going over essences. Right now I only have 2, but we're going to only take this in the context of 2 essences. But pretty much in these situations, like the 3rd essence is going to be kind of like, you're going to figure it out after the combinations I show you. So the first 2, this right here is my pure damage build. This is when I want to do the most damage I can. I'm not really worried about living. I'm not worrying about doing anything else. I take Crucible Flame as my major, and I take Condensed Life Force rank 2 major. You do not want to use this at rank 1. If you do not have the rank 2 or higher, do not use Condensed Life Force. I do not think it's worth it. But if you have the rank 2, I recommend it completely as a minor. And if you don't have the rank 2 of Condensed Life Force, if your haste is a little bit low, you can use Essence of the Focusing Iris, or you can use a Memory of Lucid Dreams, or you can use Conflict and Strife. There's a lot of options. Conflict is more versatility, but the refund gain from Dreams is also nice, and then Iris if you're low on haste. So pretty much, like here, if I had the extra slot, I'd probably take Conflict or Iris for the haste or extra versatility gain. That's pretty much it. Now, if I was trying to live, I would go, if this is my completely living build, this is what I want to take for essences when I need to try to live on the target and I'm just dying and I'm getting frustrated. I go Conflict and Strife Major for the extra versatility, the defensive increase from versatility when I'm stunned, and then also doubling my versatility whenever I dispel, interrupt, or apply a loss of control effect, which is like when I trap, when I intim, when I get a muzzle kick, or I think, I haven't tested this yet, but I'm more positive with post haste when you dispel a snare that counts. So Conflict and Strife is the major that you want for defensive, and then I just take Memory of Lucid Dreams as a minor because there's extra versatility. Might as well try to stack as much versatility as I can to get more benefit from the Conflict and Strife major effect. If I were to run a 3rd essence, I'd probably just run Crucible Flame just because there's no other really defensive essence I could take. Sorry about that. So yeah, that's probably what it takes as rank 3. So if you want defensive essences, you take Conflict and Strife and Memory of Lucid Dreams. If you want damage, which I recommend, you take Flame Major and then Condensed Life Force Minor. Alright, now we're going to move on to stats. Your stat priority is going to be Haste, then Versatility, then Mastery, then Crit. So Haste and Versatility are kind of equal. Like, you don't want to go for PvE where haste is all you want. Haste, 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 haste. There is a nice balance. Once you get to, like, it kind of depends how you feel. Like, you can feel it out. It's, like, all depending on the player. But I recommend around 23 to 24% haste. Maybe 25 is, like, the cap I would try to go for. And then I would just try to go for as much versatility. Like, right now, I'm only at 23%. And I'm already gemming an enchanting verse because my versatility is so low that I want to try to boost it up as much as I can. I have a verse gem in here, 2 verse enchants, verse gem. I have a verse gem trying to get as much versatility to make up for the fact that I have barely any. So is pretty much haste, then versatility, then mastery and crit. If the meta became fast enough, I could see mastery overtaking versatility, because I think in a shorter game, the more increased damage on Mongspite, and you'd also probably start taking crows. If games started ending in about 2 to 3 minutes at most, I would start taking crows, and then the crows would get the benefit of mastery. So if the meta gets up shorter, I would take mastery and I'd go crows. But for now, I think versatility is just better, because mastery doesn't affect kill command or bombs, as to where versatility does affect kill command and bombs, which are a decent portion of your damage. Let's see if I have a breakdown here for you. Well, let's see if I, like right here. Serpenting, kill command, Mungsbite, flame that increases flame damage, pet claw, like all this. Let's see if I have a 2's game for you. Or just a nice PvE game, like right here. Let's look at it. Serpenting, Blazing Poison doesn't get increased by mastery, even though it's created by focusing using ability. It doesn't consume focus, so it doesn't work. And then kill command, Mungsbite, flame, melee doesn't get increased by mastery. The flame dot increased by versatility. A lot of these things aren't increased by mastery, and they're increased by versatility. So overall, when you're playing the Alpha Predator Bloodseeker build, your versatility is more beneficial than mastery is, so there's no point. But if we were to play Crows and Viper's Venom, I could easily see mastery overtaking versatility. So for now, haste first, mastery, crit. Maybe in the future, if the meta becomes fast enough, then mastery would overtake verse. Gear to look out for? Just haste versatility gear as much as you can. A couple trinkets I'll point out. This trinket, I got an extremely high IM level, Tiny Forge, you can see. Super RNG'd it. It does decent damage. It's a pretty decent hit. Can hit the 35k. It's not bad. But the trinkets you want to look out for are pretty much, you want a badge. It's always a trinket you'll always try to have on. And then you'll either wear like a safeguard if you're trying to live, a Maldic if you're fighting Rusted Druids, or an Insignia if you just don't need Maldic or safeguard. But if you get a super really high IMO PvE trinket, it can be good. Like one trinket I can think of if you somehow RNG'd it at a decent level is Kimball's Razor Claw. If you got a high enough IMO, the damage increase could be worth from it. I haven't tested Coral. I don't think Coral's too useful since the crit is really worthless in PvP. You don't need the increase from it. Any other? I don't think there's any other PvE trinkets. Pretty much, like a loaded dice from Freehold could be good as well. It's just extra stat increase. Other than that, you pretty much want a badge, a safeguard, Maldic, and an Insignia. Those are the 4 trinkets you want to try to always have on you, so you could swap into certain different matchups. Alright, so we're just going to go over the pets. There's only 2 pets you want. There's a third one. I'll mention it just for sakes. So the first pet we want is a Freedom Mortal Strike pet. So the ones that give Freedom and Mortal Strike are Raptors, Hyenas, and Rodents. I'll have a link to WoW Petopia down below just so you can kind of find out where you can tame these pets. But you pretty much want a Raptor, a Hyena, or a Rodent. And then as your other pet, you want a Mortal Strike with Leech. So only pet I know, I think, is the Scorpions and the Birds, I think, do Mortal Strike and Leech. Why you want to use these? If you're fighting Shadow Play, you're fighting our Druid Shadow Play and the Druid's not rooting. You don't really need the Freedom from the pet. Freedom doesn't really do much against Shadow Priests. Like, there's the Conflagger, but you don't, like, you would Freedom that out of annoyance, not Freedom it because it's a necessity. So, the extra 10% leech is some extra self-sustained. It also helps keep your pet alive because it also gets a 10% leech. It's kind of beneficial. And the last pet you can get is a Spore Bat. It's just a Freedom Purge pet if you're playing Arms KFC or a SAS Thugcleave. You don't really need a Mortal Strike from your pet, so you just get a Spore Bat. But I really wouldn't worry about those two because Arms KFC and a SAS Thugcleave aren't a very strong comp right now. So I'm just going to go over how we want to do our damage, what our priorities are. There's no set rotation in PvP for any class whatsoever. There's more of a priority system. So the first thing you want to do, I'm going to walk up to this target dummy. I'm going to look. I'm like, oh, I don't have a Serpent Sting. I should apply a Serpent Sting. Get my Serpent Sting up, gets the damage, procs my Lane Poison, gets it ramped up higher, and it can proc my essences, like my Ancient Flame and my Azure Spikes, both proc instantly. So, once you have that, you're going to look, oh, I don't have a bomb up. I should throw a bomb. If you could throw a bomb without breaking a trap or CC, you want a bomb, and then you come up and you start Mongspiting, and then you're like, oh, I'm a little, like, here, we're going to Mongspite for you. Oh, I'm a little bit low on focus. I should kill command, because it also applies the bleed and gets me focus back. pretty much just what you want to do. Keep up Serpent Sting, keep one bomb on cooldown as much as you can, and then try to just keep a kill command bleed up, and don't kill command if it's gonna focus cap you while you're in melee range. But say this target dummy's kiting me, and like I don't have eagle up. See, like here I just popped ego and I don't have it. You can just kind of like you can just weave in Serpent Stings and kill commands just to get some range damage in. Since especially if you're running dire consequences, kill command 7k hit from range, a lot more than Serpent Sting is, and it doesn't cost focus, so it's the best of both worlds, just a decent hit. So, just go over it. We want to keep a Serpent Sting up at all times. Try to keep one bomb on cooldown. There are times where you have two bombs, and you can go with a burst, so I can pop cooldowns. You know, get here, and I can just double bomb right here. Double bomb, and then just get a big Mongoose Bite in with the pops my lane poisons. So that's one way to do it. But for the most part, keep Serpent Sting up. Try to keep one bomb cooldown as best you can. Keep your kill command bleed up, but don't cap yourself on focus too much if you're in melee range. And just weave in as many Mongoose Bites as you can. Now, we'll go over... And then if you're running the Crucible Flame Essence, just kind of throw it on cooldown a little bit. Don't ever do two back-to-back. The Crucible Flame kind of has like the bomb kind of feel to it. Like sometimes it's good to do back-to-back bomb. Like if you're trying to do the best, you do back-to-back flames. But for the most part, just keep one on cooldown. Maybe use a second one if you're close to a kill. Alright, so now we're going to go over the best 2v2 and 3v3 comps. So pretty much your best 2v2 comp, it's been the same thing for about 4 years now, is Resto Druid, Survival Hunter. By far, it's one of the top comp 2s. In my personal opinion, I think it's the best comp 2s. You have, in my personal opinion, no losing matchups. You have close matchups like 50-50s or 60-40s, but in my opinion, you have no losing matchups. So it's quite strong. Your next best comp is going to be H-Pal Survival Hunter. Holy Pal is a really strong healer, just gets kind of outclassed by the R-Druid, so in certain matchups you can just lose. So it's not as good as the rest of Druid. And then you have Disc Hunter, Mistweaver Hunter. They're all kind of the same. Disc is okay if you can get like a lot of damage off into certain matchups. Like they can play Skiz and Dark Arc and you can do a lot of damage. But for the most part, you want to stick with the rest of Druid or H-Pally. If you're trying to play double DPS, the only double DPS comp I know that will work for Hunter is Feral Druid Hunter, since Feral Druid has some good, decent burst with the bites, has good control with Bash, Maim, can play Cyclone, and just decent off healing. So it's your best. Like, Ret could work, but Ret is just not as versatile as the Feral, so I personally think the Feral is better. And for threes, your best comps, so far what I've noticed is Dish Jungle is pretty good at some things. Dish Jungle does good into caster comps, into melee, some melee casters it does decent into. But it really struggles against melee cleaves that can run at that disc or just do a lot of damage so the disc can't be as offensive as you want. So it kind of filters. Then you have Thug Cleave, which is sub-rogue Survival Hunter disc. It's pretty strong, and it can work with an H-Pal as well. Just pretty good setup. You can do decent to melee cleaves. Caster comps, like the Shadow Play is kind of tough because they're kind of tanky. Like tankier comps, like the Destro Rocks are a real problem. TSG, like rest of your TSG can be hard, but you can pretty much heal almost anything as that comp. Only Rogue Mage is a little difficult because it can just kill your Rogue straight out before you can get enough goes to win. And then your third best comp is probably going to be Scatter Play, which is Shadow Priest, Hunter, Resto Druid. Now, it does good into Rogue Mage, does kind of decent into the double casters and all of that. Melee casters is good, that's more of its favorite matchups. And then the melee cleaves, it can be hard. Just some melee cleaves you can beat, like I think you could beat DH Warrior, probably DH DK, but like the TSGs, the Windwalker DKs, they're gonna walk over your Shadow Priest, your Druid's just not gonna be able to heal long enough to have you guys get to your win condition. So it's pretty much Jungle Cleave if you're fighting double caster, Rogue Mage, Thug Cleave if you're fighting the melee cleaves, and maybe Rogue Mage, and then Scatter if you're fighting double casters and the Rogue Mage. So pretty much Thug Cleave your melee cleave counter, and then Jungle and Scatter Play kind of beat everything else. Like Scatter can beat melee cleaves, and Jungle can, just a lot of them are unfavorable matchups. Alright, and before I go, I'm going to show you guys a couple useful macros I have. So the first useful macro are just @cursor macros. I use one for freezing trap, I use one for tar trap, and I use one for binding shot. Just makes the cursor instantly click, so when I throw it down, just instantly goes down wherever my cursor is. Just makes it easier, less time consuming. You're just more focused on your damage rotation. Any other important macros? Obviously, your freedom and roar sack macros for your DPS. So I have a freedom DPS, a freedom roar sack, the roar sack DPS, roar sack healer, freedom healer, and then I have myself ones as well. Since they don't automatically go onto you, have to either click yourself or macro into yourself. Other than that, only other macros somewhere have like a cancel or blessing protection and turtle macro, just so if you're playing with an H-Pal versus a mage, they can't steal your bop. And then just if you want to get off turtle faster instead of having to right click, you just have a macro. I have it macroed to carve because I very rarely in a PvP situation will ever press carve. So there's no discernible reason for me to just not have it there. It's a nice easy keybind. It's 9 for me. Just quick and easy. Other than that, just pretty much have like a focus and Tim macro is nice. Focus kick macro. Where's my focus kick for survival? Focus kick. A mending bandage macro to just kind of help if you're fighting a feral druid or assassination rogue. Take mending bandage and makes it easier to have a mouse over. So like I can mending. I can't do it in the garrison, but I would mending bandage my pet if it's a mouse over, and if I don't have anyone mouse over, it'll just mending bandage myself. Other than that, no really useful macros other than that, like a focus tracker. That's pretty much either focus macros or arena 1, 2, 3 macros, and then having freedom and sack macros for you and your partners. And then the cursor macros are all you really need. So I hope you guys enjoy. If you guys have any questions of something I didn't go over and you need more explanation, please leave in the comments below. If you want, I sometimes stream on Twitch. I'll have those, and I have a Twitter. I'll have those in the link down below. And I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope this was useful. Hope I didn't talk too fast or anything. Please, if you have any questions, if I missed anything, talk too fast, fuck something up, please just let me know. I'll gladly answer in the comments. I'll answer on Twitter. I'll answer it when I'm streaming, no matter what, in-game, anything. So you guys have a good day, and thanks for watching. See ya.